Okay, welcome back.
Thank you.
So, today we're starting a new section of the Tanya. I don't know if you see the map of the Tanya there. Every section is a different color. Oh, Rachel, good to see you. Welcome, welcome. And it's very interesting that besides from it being a new section about the meaning of life, it's also the beginning of the second half of the Tanya. So if we can kind of divide the Tanya into the whole 53 chapters into two, we're a little bit like on the second part right now. The first part was all about the how. How does it work? How does it function? How does the body function? How do we function? How did Hashem create the world like that? Like it's all about the how. Like if you look at science, it's like the anatomy of the body, okay, and how everything functions and how we can tap into our Jewish heart and the second part of the Tanya, like where we're going to start working on today, is all about the why. Why is it this way? Why is it that we have Yetzer Hara? Why is it that we have an Neshama? Why is it that we came down in this world? Like all about the why and understand the meaning of everything and understand why is it the mitzvot? Why is it the learning Torah? What, like all about like to understand so it's going to be a little bit more philosophical, not like technical, but it's still going to be very, very interesting. So today we're starting with chapter 35, and this chapter is going to be a lot about, like, especially today's class, it's going to be a lot about putting our questions down, like, it's like the beginning, but we're also going to start giving beautiful answers. So it's not going to be just questions, but it's very important to understand the depth of the questions. Anyway, so before we get all into it, I'll start with a little anecdote. There was a man that was walking by fields, and all of a sudden he sees by the fields that there's two men working. One is digging holes and one is refilling all the holes, and they're like going through the whole field digging. One is digging little holes and one is filling up those holes, and he's like wondering, like, what are they doing? What are they wasting their time? Like, what is going on over here? And so he asked those two men, what are you guys doing? He's like, it's very simple. Every day there's three of us working here. One makes a hole, one puts seeds, and one refills back the hole.
Oh, okay.
But today the second one that fills up the holes with the seeds is sick, so he didn't come. So we're just doing our job. We're not going to waste our time. We're going to do our job anyways, but there's just no one putting in the seeds. So it sounds very funny, but today we're starting to talk about the meaning of life. And just like in this story with the planting, that nothing was planted, really, also in our lives, we have a lot of the same situation. One is digging and one is filling it up. One is born and one is dying. One is selling and one is buying. One is getting married, one is divorcing. One is gaining and one is losing. One is coming in, one is coming out. Everybody's busy, rushing, running, going all over the place. And without, sometimes, like with missing these seeds, missing this planting a seed. There's no meaning to the whole going and running and back and forth. There's no meaning to it. It's like literally like those two men. Like sometimes we do exactly that. I mean, for the most part, we do exactly that. And so it's really an example of what our life, of the meaning, like the seed that was missing there is the meaning of life. Like that's the essence. And without going into all our actions with meaning, then it's just missing, like we're doing and going and working and getting money and spending money, but we're not like having any meaning. So it's just like those two men. They were like digging and putting back the earth without the meaning, without the actual seed. So what is the meaning of our lives? Let me ask you, what are you getting up for every morning? What are you here for? Like, what do you think meaning of life is? I do want you to give answers. If you're on Zoom, you can type them up. And if you're here, I want to hear a little bit from you. What do you think is your meaning of your life? Like besides from, going and coming and spending and gaining and
To learn.
To learn, so to grow in your knowledge.
exactly.
Okay.
Mhm.
Tikkun, there's some tikkun that needs to happen. Okay.
Well, yeah, that's right. When you learn, you know how to do it again.
To ask this question, you need to get some level and ask why I'm living. Because most of the people not even thinking.
That's what exactly what we're saying. Most people are just like those two
Not
guys.
at all.
You're right. Most people are not thinking about it.
Suddenly, when you-
We just live and go through life, and we think, oh, my goal is just to make more money, so I have profit and I'll go on vacation. Like sometimes, like you don't get far, you know, like there's no meaning.
But
But
different level of life, the meaning it's different. Like when you're young, you want to make
absolutely,
money,
there's different
then
parts.
you want to
But is
get
that a meaning?
married.
Is that meaning to get married or to make money? Like, is that like living life with
Maybe
with
for
a
raise the family, raise family.
to bring a family? So that could be your purpose, okay? To bring a family, to bring the next generation, to educate them. Okay, so somehow, whatever, to keep doing and accomplishing something. Anyways, so what happens is that each one can find a different meaning in their lives. Like each one can have a different aspect, like a different way of thinking. This is meaningful to me. For me, it's meaningful if I make an amazing business. For me, it's meaningful if I build an amazing family. Each one will say something else. And also ourselves, as you said, different ages and different stages, we can even change what the meaning of life is. But to really understand what is the actual meaning of life, what is the actual essence of life, we need to figure out the one that created life. He will know. the one that created the world. He will know the purpose of the creation of the world. He will know the actual meaning and the actual purpose. And he actually revealed it in the Torah. No secrets. So that's why we're coming here into the Tanya to learn this topic from the Tanya. And the Tanya is going to go, like every topic that the Tanya covers, it goes very, very deeply into it, as you already know. And we're going to go all the way to the bottom line of it. We're not just going to get like a plain, like a superficial answer, but we're going to try and really understand what is the meaning of life. But before we go there, we need to understand that it's not just what is my purpose of life, but we understand like there's something. It's a much bigger question. It's what is the purpose of the whole creation of the world? Like it's not just me personally, but it's also what is the purpose of the entire creation. So we're going to see different sources, what they say, and we're going to find out the foundation of the whole Judaism and the whole Hasidut, that really Hashem created the whole world because he wants a home down here in this world, right? We started talking about it, that Hashem has pleasure from us. He has pleasure from having a physical home in this world. So we're gonna get there, but in a very, like, not just mention it, but we're gonna fully get there. And then we're gonna understand how all that means so much for our personal lives. Once we understand the whole purpose of the whole creation of the world and what Hashem wants, we're gonna understand how in my life, what is my purpose. So we're gonna get there. So the next 3 chapters are gonna talk about the meaning of life, like this whole purpose of life. And so I'm just going to give you an overview of the next 3 chapters, and then we're going to start our first chapter, which itself is going to be 3 classes. Like it's whatever, we're going to spend quite a few weeks on this, but so first the chapter 35, the first chapter is going to talk about the purpose of the descent. Okay, so we're going to try to understand why we were born, okay, and how we can bring holiness, like we come from a very holy place, and how we can bring holiness into our body. And then we're going to look at second chapter. We're going to talk about, so first of all is why we were born, then why the world was created, okay, why the whole world was created. And we're gonna try to understand what's the purpose of creation, to make Hashem a dwelling place in this world. And the third, and also, so we're gonna understand the second chapter. We're gonna talk about what is the purpose of the creation, and also when is the purpose of the creation going to be fulfilled. Okay, in 2 words, it's Mashiach times. That's when it's going to be fully there, but you will see it all the way in the inside. And then the third chapter that's going to cover it, chapter 37, is going to talk about our actions, like how our actions, of our personal actions, are going to help bring down this purpose of the whole creation, and how our actions can bring the time when Mashiach comes, when that purpose will be fulfilled. And then we're going to understand, it's going to help us figure out our priority lists of like our order of priorities of what's important and what's less important, and understand how we're going to do this. And we're going to see that it's really applicable to us. Okay. So that's a little bit of what's going to get covered in the next 3 chapters in terms of the whole purpose and the whole meaning of the world and the whole meaning of everything. So today is going to be the base, like the foundation of this. And we're going to ask 2 main questions. The first question is okay, why, like we're going to, the first question is, why is our actions important? What is it about the action versus our feelings, etc.? You'll see it's very interesting. And also we're going to ask a question, what does it mean that, like, we're going to ask why were we born? And we're going to see that it goes much deeper. And then we're going to go into starting the answer about what we're going to bring Kabbalah and see what Kabbalah says about the purpose of the world. And we're going to go into the example of the candle and the oil, the wick, and the flame. It's going to just start. Next week, it's going to go deeper into it, but today we're going to present it. Anyway, it's a beautiful class. So we're going to start after all these introductions. So the question on what is the meaning of life is not it's not just a philosophical idea, but it really impacts our personal lives. Like, it's not just like, oh, let's discuss it, but it really has a direct impact on our life. So just like every business needs to have a vision, what is my goal? Like when you build a business, what is my goal? What is my ambition? Where do I want to get? And then you create a list of what needs to get done and what are the priorities, what is more important and what is less important, where do you want to focus on, how much do you want to focus on, where do you want to invest more, where do you want to invest less? Like, you need to, when you know the goal, it helps you figure out how you're going to get there. So the same thing with us. When we know what's the whole purpose, the whole goal of our life, we're going to know what we should do with ourselves. We're going to figure out what needs to get done and what's more important and what's less important, right? Same idea. So it really matters to know what is the meaning of the world. Also, a person that lives without any meaning, then he lives a life and like you can live years and years upon years and then just accomplish nothing. Like, if you don't have purpose, if you don't have meaning, like it's he said, I think it was in Kohelet, that it talks about Hevel Havalim, that it was like you just waste your life with like nothing and nothing, like you just do. So your whole life can go wasted if you don't live with meaning and purpose. Okay. So there's a famous expression, it's called quality time, right? So quality time is when you spend time on things that are very important to you. So that's like an example of a parent and a child. It's like the most typical when you think of quality time. So I'm going to give you certain case scenarios, and you'll tell me which ones you think are considered quality time and which ones are not. Okay. So do you think that to take out the garbage is considered quality time? No. Okay. To take a child in the car, like to give a ride to the kids.
Yes.
That's quality time.
Sorry, but I have to say that I look at my taking out my garbage as quality time, because that's part of my purpose is to make a home for my family, and it's part of what
So you look at it as a means to the goal.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I enjoy the journey, gets me outside. I'm proud of my organized growth. Like, yeah.
Okay, but I'll give you more and you'll tell me if it's actually more quality time than that. Okay, so giving a ride to the kids, you say yes, but it depends. If you just like, it depends if you actually use the time to talk or not.
Usually when you take him in a car, always have something to laugh.
You have something to play or to laugh or to talk. That's good.
Put them in a car, take them out to the car, hug them, kiss them.
Yeah.
It's the
Okay,
best,
so
yeah.
you look at it. Okay, great,
Yes,
great,
that's
great,
what
great.
they
Yeah,
see
yeah,
with
yeah.
my grandchildren.
Okay, now what about telling them a story time before bedtime?
Oh, what was that?
That's the best. Oh, you see, you
Oh.
already see it as differently than
Oh my
taking out the
God.
garbage. What about laughing with the child?
Even better.
Okay, tell him you love him.
Oh, no.
Go grocery shopping.
like spending time with.
No, without the
Yeah.
kid, without the kid.
Yeah,
Oh, without the kid,
Not really.
yeah,
that's a chore.
Even though you're buying food for the kid.
yeah.
It's not the same.
That's a chore.
I understand my purpose, but you don't get the same office.
It's not the same. It's not the same quality. When you say quality
Yeah.
time, to listen to the child.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. To wash the floors. Okay, so we're like, now we're on the
Okay,
same
okay.
page.
No,
Okay,
I need a
to
response.
wash, okay, to wash the dishes.
No.
Okay, so we all agree, okay, that when there's more, when there's real, like when there's feelings and emotions involved, like direct connection, then you feel, we're gonna call it quality time. Like if there's like an emotional connection as opposed to a technical thing that can actually be done by someone else. You can have the cleaning lady take out the garbage and wash the dishes. But the quality time, the telling the story and talking to the
hug the
kid and
kids
listen
and
and to hug
kiss
the
the
kids
kids.
and listen to them, that cannot be replaced. That's the actual quality time, right?
Grocery you order by phone.
You can actually also order your groceries and get someone else to shop for you. Absolutely. So, so we say that so basically what we're saying is that if it's connected to emotions, our soul is involved. It's an expression of our souls. Our souls are connecting. But all these actions, it's an expression, it's the body's taking care of technical things. It's like, it's not the heart, it's not the heart and the soul involved. But if it's something emotional, our soul is involved. So when you put on a scale the emotions versus the actions, okay, so you're going to say that the emotions are considered much more quality than the actions, right? The emotions are real quality time and the actions are technical. So that being said, sometimes the action can also be very important because sometimes you're doing what the other person needs. So you're fulfilling someone else's needs, like you're making sure they're fed, you're making sure the garbage is taken out so it doesn't smell in the house. So I'm saying, so sometimes you're doing something that is necessary. So there is a value to the action, but we still put more value to the quality time when it's the emotions. Okay, we're all on the same page. Good.
Absolutely.
Now, let's see what is quality time with Hashem. Very, very interesting. So where does the Torah put more emphasis? Which is going to be actually the center and the meaning of life. So I'm going to ask you certain things and you'll tell me which one is considered quality time with Hashem. Praying with concentration, with kavana.
Yes.
Okay. Learning Torah.
Yes.
Doing a physical mitzvah. Okay, is it less or more? Okay, because all these things are with Hashem. So you'll have the emotional things and you'll have the physical things.
Abraham Avinu, he was taking guests, and it was a big mitzvah for him.
To invite guests,
To invite
absolutely,
guests.
absolutely.
So-
Loving Hashem, is that quality? Loving, like to love Hashem. Okay, so for you, all of them are quality time. Now, which one do you think is more like at first view? We think that we're actually closer to Hashem when we're doing an action or when we're feeling it.
Action.
Well, for me personally, it's my Kavana prayer. Like when I'm looking for a kosher symbol, this is a mitzvah. Like I'm doing it for Hashem because it's a mitzvah, but like my feeling of closeness to Hashem usually is through prayer.
Okay, so for you, it's more the emotional one.
Yeah.
So you think that for you, the emotion is more the quality time with Hashem, but you think that it's the action.
If you have someone needed, you do it for bigger mitzvah because everybody pray. You can pray after to have someone.
So you say a priority. So you're saying priority is to help someone in need
needed.
before doing your prayer.
Yeah.
Okay. So so we see that we have both over here, but what we're gonna see is that very interesting is that on one hand you can think that a mitzvah is very technical, it's dry, as opposed to putting all your feelings of love and spending all the time praying and learning Hashem's wisdom and all that. We think that when we're connecting through the heart, it's much deeper, it's much more connection, like like a husband and wife, like a very, very deep connection, like I just described with the mother and child, like with the parents and children, is that deep, deep connection. And all our actions are not really necessary as much like for Hashem. Hashem doesn't need those actions. He needs our our thought, our feelings, like he needs us to fully believe in him and everything. So
But the mitzvahs are what are gonna bring Geula, right? Like the redemption.
wait, the mitzvah bring the redemption?
Like,
Yeah, we're getting there. Give me a second. Let me finish my train of thought. So we see is that for sure we feel that when we have all this kavana, all this thinking, all this thought, all these feelings expressed, it's for sure better because actually my neshama is expressing itself when I'm it's like it's my soul connecting to God when I'm doing these prayers and this thing, as opposed to when I do an action, it's just my body doing those actions. It's not my soul. But really, when you look at what we see now is what we're going to see is that if you compare to a mother and child, you could think that it's the same with Hashem. What we're going to see here is that when you look at the sources, it's actually going to be the opposite. The Torah puts a much bigger emphasis on the actions, okay, for quality time with Hashem. So the first, it's in Pirkei Avot a few times in different ways. I'm going to mention them. Lo ha-midrash shikar ela ha-ma'aseh. It's not the talking and the learning that's the most important, but the action. It says also ha-ma'aseh hu ha'ikar. The action is the main thing. It also says there's another whole Mishnah in the Pirkei Avot that talks about the tree that has a very small, very little roots and a lot of leaves, versus a tree that has very strong roots and very little leaves. And it talks about the actions that are bigger than the intelligence, than how smart it is. So the actions count more, like it's more important. There's also a whole discussion in the Talmud if what's more important, is it the action or the learning? And they say that the learning is only big and only special if it brings to action, but if it's just learning, it's not better than action. So basically, if you look at all the sources, it's talking about the action being the main thing, being the most important. Okay, so our quality time with Hashem in the end of the game is not like for a mother and child through the feelings, but it's going to be through literally the actions, the body, whatever our hands and our feet are going to do. That's what Hashem really wants. It's not about the intention. So we'll talk in chapters later when you do a mitzvah with intention versus a mitzvah without intention. But the main thing is the mitzvah versus the kavana. That's where we're going right now. Okay. So even if a person didn't learn Torah, even if a person doesn't understand what he's doing and he's just doing it, it's a mitzvah. So I'll give you an example. There was a man that was like a religious Jew that was sitting in jail or in the camps in Sibir, in Russia, under communist Russia, and Pesach came. And he really wanted to have matzah on Pesach for the Seder, the night of the Seder. And he tried, he didn't manage. And he really, like, Pesach's coming, he must have matzah. He did not end up getting matzah, and he had 3 cubes of sugar, and he put them on his table, and those are going to be his 3 matzahs, and he's going to say the prayer with all his thoughts and feelings that he has his intention that he's tonight it's Pesach, and he's eating matzah, and he's telling Hashem, I beg you, these 3 little pieces of sugar should be like 3 matzahs because I didn't manage to get my matzah, and he's eating this sugar instead of matzah. That's one story. And then you have this man that's totally not religious, totally doing nothing. He's sitting in a building in Manhattan, watching TV, and eating popcorn and whatever. And a Jew knocks on his door. He's like, tonight is Pesach. Here's some matzah, and he eats the matzah. He can't care less. Like, okay, for you, I'll eat the matzah. God. So who did the mitzvah? Who connected to Hashem?
The one who brought the matzah.
The one who
brought the matzah.
Who ate the matzah?
They gave the matzah.
Oh, no, I'm asking the one who gave them okay. No, but I'm asking you between the 2 people that ate, the one that ate the sugar or the one that ate the matzah?
They ate. Okay. The one who ate the matzah based on what you said about action versus kavana, but in terms of how the feeling.
So you still leave a lot of room for the feelings. It's bothering you. But no, but what I want to say is that tachlis, like the fact is that the one that ate matzah did the mitzvah, and the one that did not eat matzah did not do the mitzvah.
That's what I said.
With all his intentions, with all his thoughts and feelings, and looking for matzah and wanting to do matzah and doing the whole seder of Pesach without matzah, he did not do the mitzvah.
He was
Zero.
praying.
He was
Okay.
praying.
Okay.
The prayer does. It's not a praying of what?
That's what I
He
said.
did the mitzvah of prayer, but he did not do the mitzvah of matzah.
Okay.
And the guy that ate the matzah, he did the mitzvah of matzah. It's like black and white. Like it's you did it or you didn't do it. So there's the action that matters more. even if there's no intention.
Okay.
There's Carl.
That's in the Tanya.
Huh?
That's actually in the Tanya.
Yeah, that's what we're learning in this. You'll see it. So
Okay.
the question is, why is the action? So our question, we didn't answer the question yet, but this is a big question that the Alter Rebbe is asking. How come the action is important? How come the action is more important than the intention? And the question goes even further. If the action is important, what does it mean about the meaning of life? What does it mean about life? Okay, because based on what we learned, the meaning of life is when we're putting attention to specific things. Like when you know the meaning of life, you're going to give priorities to certain things. So it's going to mean a lot to know that actions count more. So it's like, what's the meaning over there? So what we know for sure is we know that based on Torah, the action really takes a big place. We understand that from Hashem's perspective, okay, from Hashem's perspective, the meaning of life, of the creator of the world, the meaning of life really, really matters. And it's really different than the perspective of a human being.
Yeah.
Hashem's perspective of looking at the meaning of life and the meaning of an action is very different than our way of looking at it, at the meaning of life. It's like, it's already different. You see it. So, but it's a question. We're going to answer it. But before that, I want to go. I want to tell you another story. There was this very rich man, and he goes to the Alter Rebbe and he's telling him, here's what is going on. I have this huge house, and the whole city knows that I feed all the poor people of the city. I give them as much money as they want. Everybody comes to my house. They can eat as much as they want. They can get clothes. They can get whatever they want. I give a lot of tzedakah to all the poor people of the whole city, and they come the whole time, and everybody knows, like, great. And the guy asked the Alter Rebbe, he's like, you know what, I'm doing it, but I really don't have a good feeling about it. I'm not doing it with happiness. I'm not enjoying it. I'm just doing it because I have the money, but I don't like doing it. And it's not me, and it's not with the intention, and it's not with, so I'm asking the Rebbe if I should maybe stop it because I'm not doing it with the right intention.
You need to stop.
No,
So what would you say?
You need to stop.
no, opposite. You're already doing because the action.
So if you look at the action, the Alter Rebbe told him, but all these poor people are being fed.
Mhm.
Who cares if you do it with intention or
doesn't
not?
matter,
The
no.
point is that those poor people are getting fed. They're getting their food. They're getting their money. They're getting what they need. You do it with intention, non-intention, they're getting fed. That was the
The
he literally answered, but the poor people it's not just they're being fed, they're being fed for real.
But
Whether you do it with your heart or not, they're actually being fed
It's
for real,
yours.
like in truth.
that's a different example than the matzah one. Like it's very.
Yeah, that one.
It's just a different perspective of seeing the same thing. Like it's just it's again showing that the action matters versus they're both showing that the action matters versus the intention. Okay, that's the idea. So it doesn't matter. Sorry, I also didn't mention, but this guy also thought that he was doing what he was saying is not just that he doesn't feel like doing it, but he said that the reason he's doing it is because of his ego and because of whatever, for all the wrong intentions, basically. Also, but even if he's doing it for the wrong intentions, he's still doing it, and the poor people are still being fed.
Yeah.
So even if it's without, even if there's
You know
other,
how he was helping with this explanation, right? What he did, how big the man was, just to explain, because it's bothering him.
he's getting a name, he's getting the honor, he's getting the ego,
But
he's getting his boost,
inside-
but inside it's bothering him that maybe he should not be doing it.
You see?
But the Alter Rebbe said, keep doing it. The poor people are getting actual food.
Okay.
So it's the same thing that when we ask a question, should I still do it even if it's not intention? Action is the most important. That's our answer.
Mhm.
Okay. So we're going to open up the Tanya. I'll show it to you. The first part that we're going to read is very short. It's just the first line. But I want to show it to you. It's right here. The first 5 words. The first 5 words of this chapter 35. What are they? Vehine. So it's really a question because he's saying, and here, letosefet biur tevat la'asoto. We need to understand the term. We need to further explain the term la'asoto. So I don't know if you remember, but the entire Tanya is based on one sentence. I'm just going to remind it to you. It's Kikaro velecha adavar. It's written here in English, right here. I'm going to read it in a second. Kikaro velecha adavar me'od. For the matter is very close to you. In your mouth and in your in your mouth and in your heart, that you may do it. So the whole we spoke so much. The whole beginning of the Tanya was talking about that the whole idea is very close, is close to you, that it's that it's inside of us and it's accessible. But then we spoke about how it's very close, that we all have it like right here. It's an inheritance from our forefathers, and we can just tap into it and we have it. Now we're coming to explain the words la'asoto, that you may do it, that it's about the action. So that's what the next chapters are going to be talking about, that it's about the actions. Why is the action so important? And then later we're going to talk about bilvavecha, in your heart. It says in your mouth and in your heart. Later we're going to talk about how it needs to be also with the heart. So it's a very important part. But first we're going to talk about la'asoto, how the action really, really, really matters. So just to remind you, this sentence, Kikaro velecha, it was said, it's from the Torah, and it was said by Moshe to the Jews when he encouraged them to do the mitzvot, and he told them that the Torah and mitzvot is not in heaven, it's here very close to you, and you should speak it, you should feel it, and you should do it. Okay? And the Alter Rebbe bases the whole Tanya on those verses, and throughout the Tanya we're explaining different parts of it. So now we're talking a lot about the action. Okay? So here you see, so we just said the first, whatever, we just read the first line. They were basically asking a question. Why is the action the most important part? Okay, it's just putting down a question. We're not answering just yet. So that's the first question. The second question that the Alter Rebbe is going to ask over here is, why were we born? Okay, and we're going to see that this question, why were we born, is going to have 3 levels or 3 layers. Okay, so the first layer, first level, the simplest one, when we say why were we born, it's not just a stammer question. It's not just like, why are you born? What are you doing here? But it's a real deep question of faith that comes from our faith, and try to understand, why did Hashem bring me down in this world? What is my purpose? It's not just why was I born, why am I here? But it's like, what is my purpose down here in this world? Why? And we'll see that this question, so this question, when we say why, what is my purpose and why am I here in this world? Why did Hashem put me in this world? This question, like on that level, saying why was I born, it's relevant to every creature in the world, whether you're Jewish or not, doesn't like, or whether it's a plant, an inanimate, or an animal. Every single item, why are you here in this world? Okay, each item, everything has a purpose. Everything Hashem created has a full purpose in this world, and we need to understand what is the purpose of everything in this world. Like, there's a purpose of each little thing in this world, and when you know the purpose, you can make it happen. One second. Yeah. Why also am I saying that it's connected to faith of a person? Like I said, that it's a deeper question about faith. Why Hashem put me in this world? Because imagine if you don't have emunah, it's like, oh, by chance, people are born, like people create people, and there's just like a bunch of people, and it's just like you don't realize that it's really that each person really matters, that the whole world couldn't exist without this human being. Each human being really, really matters. Like when you realize that there's a God over here, you realize that every single little thing, even a leaf, even a fruit, like every single thing has a full purpose why it's here. Okay, so that's why it's very important. So it's like and also it makes us look at life with so much more meaning, that we need to really, like we need to really use every opportunity to use the thing for the purpose that it was created for. It's not, nothing is here by chance. Nothing is here to be wasted. Nothing is here just like that. Okay. So when we ask on this level, the first level, why was I born? In a sense of like, why Hashem brought me in this world? What is my purpose in this world? Every answer you give to that question will work. Because everybody's gonna find a reason why he's here. Everybody's gonna say like one is gonna say, I'm here to build buildings, I'm here to sing songs, I'm here to do something else. It's fine. If everybody has faith that this is what I'm created for, it's fine. But then there's a deeper question. When we say why were we born, there's a stronger question. It's like, why did we come down? Okay, why did our neshama come all the way down? Every morning we say, Elokai neshama, shenatata bi, Hashem gave me this neshama, and the neshama is pure. Okay, so our neshama, before it came down in this world, it was so perfect and so pure. Okay, and when it's here, we barely feel it. Like, you know, only in certain moments we feel our neshama. Like over here, it's completely covered up. We only feel it when we're in big trouble, or when it's Yom Kippur, or when it's like a very special moment. For the most part, we feel our body. We don't feel our neshama. Like our body completely takes over. So if you think of it, how much percentage of your life you're thinking about your body, and how much percentage of your life you're thinking about your neshama? Like it's completely, like most people, it's all about our body, like all about our physicality. We're all busy with our body's interest, our body's enjoyment. Okay, and we like everything that's not connected to the neshama. That's most of our life, right? So now when you say Hashem gave me such a pure neshama without a body, like the neshama without my body would be perfectly in tune with Hashem. It would express itself perfectly. And the neshama is pure. But why is it coming down all the way to such a low body, like, or into such a world where it's completely covered up? 1 second. Okay, I went too far. Give me a second. Okay, so Hashem takes a neshama from a world of truth, from a world of perfection, from a world where the neshama expresses itself perfectly, even without a body. The neshama is in tune with Hashem, and Hashem takes this neshama and puts it down so low in this world of lies, in this world that's where it's covered up, like where, like, it's just like such a low world. And so it's a big question. Why does Hashem do that? Why doesn't Hashem leave the neshamas in their perfect place? Why does it have to be in such a lowly world where it can't express itself properly, like all the way down to a body and completely connected to his body? So for that question, the answer needs to be a very specific answer. Like we can't just say, oh, my neshama had to come down in this world because I was supposed to be a singer. Like that's not enough. Like there must be a stronger reason why such a pure, beautiful neshama came all the way down into this physical body. Like you need to really justify the descent. Like the descent is really a very sharp descent, and you need to explain it completely. And how you have to justify that it was worth it, that the neshama came all the way down here, that it was better that it came here than if it stayed up, that it's gaining more down here, that there's much more to gain here than to gain up there without coming down. Like it's like a really, the answer has to be extremely powerful. But before we go, we're not going to go yet to the answer. We're going to go to the third layer of and make the question even stronger. It's why did the neshama come all the way down in vain? It's barely accomplishing anything. What happened? So the whole Tanya is written down for a Beinani. A Beinani is someone that we're never going to be a tzaddik. We're never going to get rid of our Yetzer Hara. We're always going to be fighting. So our neshama came all the way down here to fight forever, to constantly struggle And basically it's like telling you, you're down here, you're never gonna get rid of your Yetzer Hara. You're gonna have to fight this Yetzer Hara till 120. You're never gonna win it. You're never gonna change. And so everything you do, no matter how many mitzvot you do, no matter how connected to Hashem you are, no matter what you do, there's no result. Like, why would a neshama want to come down? Like, in a way, it's like very depressing. Like, it's, you give up if you're telling you, like, your neshama came all the way down and you're never going to accomplish, and you're never going to even change this neshama, you're never going to accomplish much with it. Like, it's like, who wants to work without seeing results, like, forever? Like, you know, there's a famous story of like this, there was a king that came to a field, and he saw a peasant, like a worker over there, and he was cutting the wheat with this wheel, like whatever, with a thing to turn. And the king said, you know what? Here you're barely making any money. Come to my palace. I love watching you doing this motion. So I'm going to give you a wheel in a room, and you're going to go like that, and I'll give you much more money. He comes and does that, but he did not like it, because he's like, it doesn't, because you don't accomplish anything, nothing's getting done, you're just like doing this in the air. So so it's the same thing. Like, sometimes we're constantly fighting against the Yetzer Hara, but we're not accomplishing anything. The Yetzer Hara is still going to continue to fight us forever and ever and ever. You're never going to get rid of it. So it's like, why? So the question is like, why did we come all the way down here? Why did the neshama come all the way down here in this world and
Nothing.
in vain, like for no reason? So that's how sharp the question. So right now we're just putting down the questions in a very sharp way. So I'm going to show this to you in the Tanya, where the Alter Rebbe says, why did the neshama come down in this world? And he's going to explain that it's a creation of, he's going to talk about the Beinoni. The Beinoni is somebody that's going to constantly fight. He's never going to manage. He's never going to be able to get rid of the bad. He's constantly going to be fighting against this Yetzer Hara. And anyways, he explains the Beinoni in length. And then he says, but the Beinoni, what he is able to do, as much as he cannot get rid of the bad, but he can control his expressions, thought, speech, and action. That we have control over. That's all the Beinoni can do. Oh, shoot, 1 second. I'm very scared, my thing to understand. Okay, we're good. Okay. So he says that Beinoni is able to express himself. And then he asks the question, why did neshama come all the way down here for emptiness, like for nothing? 1 second, I see the chat here. Okay. So first question was why to do, like, why is the action important? And here now we go to the next question. And let us also understand in a very small measure the purpose in creating a Beinoni, to be and remain forever on the level of Beinoni. For as explained in chapter 14, the souls of the Beinoni are usually incapable of rising to the level of a tzaddik through their own will and effort. They were created to be Beinoni. Also, the purpose of their soul's descent to this world being closed within an animal soul, deriving from the klipa and sitra acha, the very antithesis of the divine soul, since they will not be able to banish the animal soul throughout their lives, not even dislodge it from its place in the left part of the heart, so that no evil imaginings rise from it into the brain, inasmuch as the Beinoni, the essence of the animal soul derived from the klipa, remains in its full strength and potency as at birth. So this Yetzer Hara, this klipa, is the same strength his whole life, but except that its garments, its forms of expression as evil thought, speech, and action do not close themselves in their body. As mentioned above in chapter 12, where the Alter Rebbe explained that by means of constant battle with the animal soul, the Beinoni prevents the budding evil of the soul from expressing itself in its thought, speech, and action. And here comes the big question. Why then did their souls descend to this world to strive in vain God forbid. So I want to show it to you in the word in Hebrew, larik. Lama ze yardu nishmotem laolam hazeh liga larik, like to nothing, like rek is emptiness, it's in vain. Waging war all their lives against their evil inclination, yet never being able to vanquish it. So why did we come all? So why were we born? For what purpose? Why did Hashem bring down Neshama so low down here in this world, and why? For no reason, like for nothing, like for in vain. Like you're constantly battling, and you're getting, and you're
to develop your needs, like actually that struggle is like Yaakov was named Israel, like this struggle. So that struggle.
So we are meant to struggle. You're going straight to the, and we're not going to answer this today, anyways.
sure.
But generally speaking, is that Hashem wants us to reveal godliness down here in this world. You can't reveal it if it's not hidden and if it's not a struggle. You understand? Like that's what Hashem wants us to do. He wants it to come from us. But we'll get there much deeper. There's a joke of a thief that comes into the rabbi's house, and he comes in the middle of the night, and he tries, and he thinks everybody's sleeping, and he's starting to look around and this, and at some point he falls. I don't know, he falls from some staircase or whatever, and he's like in the middle of the house by the living room, anyways, and he opens his eyes and he sees the rabbi studying in the middle of the night. And the rabbi sees him and he's like, what are you doing? What do you want in the middle of the night? It's so late at night, what do you want? So he's starting to mutter or whatever. He's like, Rabbi, I came to ask a question. So wait, so the rabbi says, so what's the question? So the thief says, my question is, what am I doing here? And how am I getting out of here? So the Alter Rebbe is the same thing for us. It's like, how did we get down to this low world, and what are we meant to do over here? Like, what are we doing here? It's like he took the same question of this thief that landed in this place, and it's like, and it's the same thing for us.
So
What am I?
It's a real story or just?
I believe it's no, it's a joke. But why does it say it's? Yeah, it's no, it's. But that's what we're asking over here. Why am I here? And what am I doing here? Like, there's definitely something going on. So after we understood the big questions, we're going to start putting down a foundation for the answer. We're not like, it's not going to get fully there, but just the beginning of it, to understand what is our purpose over here. And the Alter Rebbe takes this example from the Zohar, from the Kabbalah. So the Zohar talks about the words that the Zohar says that a smart person, his eyes are in his head. So then he asks, but is it only a smart person that the eyes are in his head, or everybody his eyes are in his head? Like, what's the point over here? So I'm going to explain it to you, but first the way he explains it, he's going to bring to explain it, he brings an analogy of a candle. And he says there's 3 parts to a candle. I'm just going to show you. I have like a slide for it. Okay. There's 3 parts to a candle. Okay. You have the wick, you have the fire, and you have the oil. Okay. The part that's the most physical and the heaviest and the most, like, that's here to stay is the wick. Okay. it's the wick is what's taking the oil down to the flame. It's like really the main part of it here. Okay. Like it's not it's on its own, it can't light, but he's the one that's taking the oil and making the flame exist. Okay, he's really like helping the flame exist. The part that's the most fragile and the most spiritual part is
Fire.
the fire. Very good. Is the flame.
What about the match?
Uh,
You need something to ignite it.
okay, so you need the oil. What is the oil?
But the oil and the wick with other, you still need a match. You need the spark.
You need a match to start it. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point. Don't worry. There's a story about the match. Don't worry. We'll get there. We have a lot of classes to discuss this whole analogy, but today is just the beginning. Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, so the oil is the material part that helps the flame light. If there's no oil, there's no flame. Okay. So, and what's interesting is that the oil itself becomes part of the flame. Like the oil is what's burning out slowly. Okay. So yeah. That's why I brought those here.
They're beautiful. Yeah.
Okay. So so now we're comparing this to us. Okay, what is going to be, so the flame, sorry, the wick that I started with, which is like the most physical part, that's the one connecting between the oil and the flame, is our body. Excellent. Our body. The wick is our body. The holiness, the godliness is the flame, obviously. And what is the oil? What's making our body connect to Hashem? What is it? The mitzvot. Okay, you got it. Okay, so you see it all here clearly, hopefully. Okay, now let's take it to the next part. So we see that so now let's explain it a little bit further. The body is a very physical part, okay, and it's not part of the holiness, okay, and it's not part of it. It's like completely, but he's the one that needs to connect somehow to the holiness. He's the wick is supposed to somehow bring the fire, and the godly light, of course, is the highest form. But then you have the oil. And the oil is what's very important here. What does the oil do? There's a lot of things about the oil. We said that it's what's giving fuel, okay, to make the fire exist. So the oil, when a person does a mitzvah, it's what's making godly light be in his body. When you do a mitzvah, you're bringing Hashem into the person's body. So what's very, very interesting, I don't know if it's here, but what I want to explain to you is that when you just learn or just connect to Hashem spiritually, just your soul is connected to Hashem. But when you do a physical mitzvah, your body and your soul are connected to Hashem.
Yeah.
You see that? When we do a mitzvah, it's what Hashem wants. Hashem wants the body to have to inhibit Hashem in him. Okay, so there's so much about the body and so much about the physicality of a mitzvah. The mitzvah is what's doing it all. Okay, so when now that you okay, so here you just saw this analogy for today. Don't worry, we're gonna go much deeper into it. So when the Zohar said earlier that a smart person, his eyes are in his head, it means that his understanding, his thoughts, his eyes, all this are always connected. All his thoughts are connected to Hashem, are connected to something that's higher, and that's always in his head, and that's why he's always trying to do a mitzvah, somebody that's smart, somebody that gets it. Here also the Alter Rebbe mentions the whole idea of a man wearing a kippah, because the whole you'll see he explains it very, very well in length, how the kippah is there to remind a person about Hashem being on his head. Whatever, you'll see the words of the Alter Rebbe are just perfect for this. It explains it very well. Now, understanding this whole concept of this oil, which is the mitzvot, bringing down the flame through the wick to the body. When we understand this completely, it's going to give us a little bit, just of an opening to answer the questions of why our neshama came down in this world, even for nothing, without any results. Like we asked, like how come we came down in this world so low and we're just accomplishing nothing? So the question is that even though we're not going to change the body and we're not going to change the Yetzer Hara, but when we're connecting to Hashem, we're accomplishing huge things in this world. We're bringing down Hashem's Shechina down here in this world in our body. That's the purpose. There's a purpose over here. Hashem wants us to be so low here, and we're not doing nothing. We're bringing Hashem's Shechina here when we do a mitzvah. Like that's huge. That's really the whole purpose of Hashem. So if you know the purpose, that fits it. And when we asked what is the importance of the actions, okay, so the answer is that it's specifically the actions that are enabling the Shechina to be here on the body. As I told you, like when you do a mitzvah, the body and the soul are connected to Hashem. So it's only through a mitzvah, only through an action that you can get there. Okay, let's explain it. And how does the Shechina come? It's literally like, and why specifically through an action? Okay, we'll explain it even further, like in the next part of this Tanya. Like next week, we're going to talk a lot about the importance of the actions. Okay, we're going to go much further into it. So I just want to show you the Tanya and explain it at the same time. Oh, this thing. Give me a second. Give me a second.
May your mitzvahs keep you warm.
Yes. Okay. So we asked our questions, and here starts the end. Here's going to explain everything. So let this forthcoming explanation be their solace. Okay, let it be. So it's very interesting. What is he saying? He says it should be a nechama. That it should be a consolation, like as if those questions were painful. The questions of why the neshama comes down in this world is like something painful, to the point like the pain is so strong that the person needs somebody to console him, somebody, as if somebody died. Like that's when we use those words, like somebody that, like, to really help someone that died. It's actually very interesting. You know that when a baby is born, it says that you need to wait 8 days for a baby boy to wait 8 days to do Brit Milah, because he needs 8 days to recover from the fact that he came down in this world. Like the neshama came into such a low body. There's even for a baby boy that's being born, there's a custom of doing the first Friday night a Shalom Zachar, and we eat chickpeas because they are round. And round is where we eat also when somebody dies. You eat an egg. Tisha B'Av. Round is a symbol of mourning, because when a baby, like when a neshama comes from such a pure place to such a low body, there's something really painful happening. There's something really sad happening, and a child needs to recover. Like a baby that's coming to this world, there's a certain recovery that needs to happen. And look what he says here. The answer that I'm going to start giving you now, it should be a consolation. It should be a solace, a comfort, But the way he says it's like a double measure. You see how bad that is. And then it continues. So let this first explanation be their solace, to comfort them in a double measure of aid, and to gladden their hearts in God, who dwells among them in their Torah and divine service. Okay, so when we understand that Hashem is inside of us, Hashem is able to be with, like, we can bring Hashem into our body, that we can bring the godly light into our body, like we can bring the flame into the wick. When we understand this, that should bring the person joy, gladden their heart. Okay, so the answer that he's going to give is also going to be consolation, and also going to make the person very happy, because when we fully understand it, this is the best thing that can be. The explanation will show them how to find comfort and joy in godly light that abides within them when they study the Torah and when they engage in the service of God. And what does he explain? So this, I think the way he introduces it is, there's something powerful. I hope you see it. So the above mentioned difficulties will be resolved by clarifying first the comment of the Yanukah quoted in the Zohar on the verse, "The wise man's eyes are in his head." Chacham einav berosho. The Zohar comments, what else are a man's eyes? Surely then, the meaning of the verse is as follows. We have learned that a man must not go 4 cubits while bareheaded, without a kippah. Why? Because the Shekhinah, the divine presence, rests upon his head. Therefore, every wise man has his eyes, his interest and concern, and hence also his speech concentrated in his head. Okay? In that light of the Shekhinah, which rests and abides above his head. Now, when his eyes, his interest, and his concern are there, he must know that this light kindled above his head, the light that shines upon his soul, requires oil. Okay, so basically we have Hashem's Shekhinah on our head, but you still need the oil. What is the oil? So he's giving first the example. Oil for man's body is the wick that retains the luminous flame, and the light is kindled above it. And thus King Solomon cried out, saying, "Let there be no lack of oil above your head." For the light over his head requires oil, meaning good deeds. The good deeds the man performs are the oil which supplies the light, illuminating his soul. And for this reason, the wise man's eyes are in his head to ensure that he never lacks oil, good deeds for his light. The quotation from the Zohar ends here. So that's the end for today. Like I'm saying, we'll continue this part of the Tanya next week, but I'm not done my class. I'm just summarizing and then taking it further. So as a summary, we asked today 2 big questions, okay? Why is the action the most important thing? And why did we come down here in this world so low, like we have the descent, and we all constantly have to fight against the Yetzer Hara? And we started by saying that there's a fire, there's an oil, and there's a wick. And it's the same thing that for us, the fire is the godly light, the mitzvot is the oil, and the body is the wick. And even if we don't manage to get rid of our Yetzer Hara, we're still going to be able to bring down God's light into this world, into our body, through actions. Excellent. 2 mitzvot. Okay, so this coming Shabbat is Yutet Kislev. It's the day that the Alter Rebbe, the author of the Tanya, came out of jail. It's Rosh Hashanah of Chassidut. It's the day that in the daily Chitat that we spoke about last week, we finish the whole Tanya and we restart the whole Tanya for those that study it daily. Anyway, it's a very special day, this coming Shabbat. And one of the stories that is talked about a lot is when the Alter Rebbe was in jail. There were people that realized that he's a very smart man and that he knows a lot and whatever, and they enjoyed talking to him or asking him questions. And so one of the people, they're non-Jews, like I'm saying, those workers, the officers, whatever, came to him and he says, listen, Hashem knows everybody where they are. Hashem knows everything, right? So why did he ask after the sin of Adam? Adam sinned and ate from the tree of knowledge. After Adam sinned and ate from the tree of knowledge, Hashem asks him, Ayeka, where are you? Hashem doesn't know where Adam is. Why is Hashem asking Adam, where are you? And Alter Rebbe answered to those officers, and it's a famous answer because it's for us. It's very, very visible. You know the answer?
I don't know.
You never heard this? You sound like you know this when I talk. Okay. Okay, great. So basically he's saying this is a request, this is a question and a demand from all of us. He says, when you reach a certain, like it's not like Hashem didn't know where he is geographically, but everybody constantly needs to ask himself this question: where are you? Like it's like, where am I? At any point of our life, we need to ask, where am I? I was born. I'm going somewhere. Am I? What is my purpose? Am I fulfilling it? What am I doing here? Where am I? So when Hashem asks Adam, where are you? He wasn't just asking him like, I don't know where you are. It's like, where are you holding in your life? What are you doing? Like, what are you doing with yourself? So we constantly need to ask ourselves, and the question to us today is, where are you? What is your purpose in your life?
We did our purpose already.
If we did our purpose, we would be dead. Okay, a person that finishes their purpose, a person that finishes their shlichut, their purpose is like a person that dies because they finished his mission. And if we didn't die yet, it's because we didn't finish our mission, clearly. So we spoke. So very interesting. The question that we asked today: why does the neshama comes down so low? That question, it appears so many times in the Tanya and in a lot of the Chassidut talks, in a lot of the books of the Alter Rebbe, he mentions it again and again. Like we see, like the question, why did the neshama come down, is many, many times. And why is he asking? When you ask a question many times, it's like, even though you already know the answer, it's because it needs to be asked again and again. Like, why is he asking again and again? Like, we know you usually ask a question, you give an answer, you don't ask it again, you got the answer. But even though he gave the answer, he's asking it again and he's asking it again. And there's two big answers for why this question is constantly being asked. The first answer is because it's a painful cry, and the second one is because it's a call for figuring out the order of priorities. So let me explain each one a little bit more clearly. So we're not talking about it's not just a simple question why did the neshama come down. It's when we understand the holiness of the neshama, how pure the neshama is, when we understand what the neshama is, how it has such a holy thing to it, and when we see that it came down here in such a low place, okay, then it's like it hurts. Why is the neshama in such a low place? It's very, very painful, and it doesn't matter that I'm answering you the question, the pain is still there. So we're asking again, but why, Hashem? Why did you bring this my neshama down here so low? Like, why again and again? And every time we cry this, we're learning more on the purity of the neshama, on how holy our neshama is, and how much. And also, it's waking. Basically, the more we realize how holy the neshama is, the more we're waking up every day and realizing, why am I in such a low place? Why am I bringing my neshama down in such low places? Like why am I not fulfilling what my neshama wants? Why am I not making my neshama happy? I'm busy with such lowly stuff in this world on a daily basis. So the more we think about it, the more we ask this question again and again, we're realizing I have this neshama that's so pure and it's so low, and it's painful. The second reason why he's asking this question again and again is because when you ask, a person needs to constantly ask this question, because it's the same idea. It's constantly asking, where are you? What's going on with you? We're asking again to make us realize again and again, and to wake us up, it's a wake-up call all along our life, to constantly figure out, what are my priorities right now? What am I busy with? Where am I putting so much energy in? Where am I focusing on? Am I doing the right? Am I making the right decisions? Am I doing the right things? Am I focusing on the right things? And if at any point of our life we're asking ourselves, why was I born? We're gonna start realizing, we're gonna start realizing that maybe something that we're doing is not right, and maybe we should correct it. Maybe we should switch our gears and figure out how to be better. Okay, so it's like a constant wake-up call. Okay. There's a beautiful song about exactly this, about the neshama coming down so low, and it's a nigun, it's a Hasidic nigun about the neshama coming down so low, and how it's crying oy vey, like tzoeket oy vey, and it's saying that the whole purpose of the neshama is here the whole purpose of the going low is to go even higher, to the point that it's worth it. So give me a minute to get you the song.
We are about to experience a most profound nigun, known by its opening Hebrew words, Haneshama Yoredes, the soul descends. Before we listen to the nigun, why don't we take a look at its full Hebrew lyrics, along with their English translation.
Haneshama yoredes l'soch haguf. A soul is lowered into corporeal confines. Ach tzoekes vai vai, how it wails, oy vey, oy vey. Yerida zu tzorech aliyah. Its plunge precipitates its far greater rise. Ad shekol zeh hu kadai, justifying its entire ordeal. As you listen to this nigun, try to sense the struggle your own soul experienced as it was compelled to descend from on high to be born into your body. Try to contemplate the encouraging note with which the niggin concludes. Your soul's tremendous plummet has a positive purpose. If used correctly, you can turn your fall into a climb.
הנשמה יורדת לסוף הגוף וצוי יקס וואי וואי וצוי יקס וואי 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 ירידה זוי לצוי חליה עד שכל זה הוא כדאי ירידה זוי לצורך עלייה עד שכל זה הוא כדאי הנשמה יורדת לסוף בוי חגור וצוי יקס וואי וואי וצוי יקס וואי 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 ירידה זוי צוי דרך עלייה עד שכל זה הוא כדאי ירידה זוי צוי דרך עלייה עד שכל זה הוא כדאי